listening to Superpower Creatives on the Superpower Up podcast. The show that sparks the superpowers of musicians and artists to ignite change.
All the little men, will they get the chance to come back?
Hello, this is David Delmar, your host of Superpower Creatives, and you're listening to our episode, My Conscious and My Songs. I believe everyone is a creator, and it's this inherent birthright that's the source of our superpowers. Stepping into this personal authority is scary, though. This show celebrates creatives that stay true to who they really are, making a living using their creative superpowers. The stories they share will excite and inspire listeners to do the same, making positive change in the world. It's my sincere excitement to introduce our guest for today's show. She's someone whose writing delights audiences listening to her music and children who adore her books, all whom benefit from her artistic insights and vision. Hailing from just south of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Tia McGraff is an internationally renowned, award-winning Americana singer-songwriter and author. Accompanying Tia along her musical journey is her life and musical partner, Tommy Parham. They both met and got married in Nashville, Tennessee, and have enjoyed an extensive career performing, songwriting, and recording together for more than 12 years. The level of honesty they bring to their music has many considering them the modern-day Johnny and June. 2015 to 2017 were standout years for Tia and Tommy, with sold-out shows around the world, including the coveted Bluebird Cafe in Nashville, Tennessee, international acclaim for their CD release, Crazy Beautiful, and radio play on notable shows like Bob Hare's Country and on the BBC Radio 2 in the UK. With the 2018 release of Stubborn in My Blood, first single, Strong, is already reaching beyond all demographics and boundaries, having been adopted by Me Too and women's empowerment groups around the world. A new single, a cover of the classic One Tin Soldier, is sure to light up summer radio playlist. A gifted author, Tia's children's book, Jake the Road Dog, has helped raise funds and awareness for her local chapter of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. 7 international CD releases, various film and TV placements, and numerous nominations and awards, including Americana CD of the Year, first round nomination for 2016's Grammy Awards, have earned Tia and Tommy respect in the music industry and a global fan base. The duo have a gift for getting to the heart of the matter and writing relatable songs about life, love, and this crazy world we live in. Tia, hello. Thank you so much for being here today.
Wow, that's quite an introduction. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Well, hey, you know what? You earned that introduction, and that's just my joy to be able to share it with everybody that way.
Well, thank you for such an inspiring show and you know, the opportunity and the vehicle for all of us to get to join together, you know, and share the gift of creativity and positive creative juices flowing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you are most welcome. You're most welcome. Well, today we're talking about our show, My Conscious and My Songs, particularly how Tia identifies with her conscious when writing songs and what she thinks about utilizing songs to be outspoken about important issues. So, Tia, how we like to start the show off is possibly the obvious question, but here it is. What is your creative superpower?
My creative superpower is God, my Heavenly
Amen.
Father.
Yes.
And yes, faith has always been a very strong part of my life. I was raised Lutheran. And are you really?
Yeah, I was
wow.
too. Yep.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, I was confirmed in the Lutheran Church, and my grandparents immigrated to Canada from Transylvania.
Wow.
Yeah. And,
wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And my mom's side are McDonald's, and they came to Canada from Scotland a few generations ago. But my grandma Hofgraf, my dad's mom, was always my little rock. And she sang in the old country. She was a very strong, faithful woman. And she was, you know, when I moved to Nashville, Grandma would call me on the phone, and I'd say, "Oh, Grandma, I'm feeling homesick," and she'd say, "Oh, Tia, you're doing the dream for both of us," you know.
I love your grandma.
Yeah, she was, and so I've been blessed to have a strong faith and a strong family core, and that's helped me through many years in the music industry of trying to find my voice, trying to maintain true to myself, also at the same time sharing with my fans and my friends around the world, what I believe we need to say and we need to hear, and keeping the music real, not selling out to what I just think Music Row would want to hear, or what would get us, maybe higher accolades or whatever. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't feel as accomplished or that I'd been as true to myself.
Wow, I mean, that's spoken right out of the proverbial book that this whole show is founded on, because staying true to who you really are, and when Music Row is right there, and the powers that be within that container that's Nashville, to maintain that solid ground, it is really a strength that though they may not mention it or say it or indicate it, there's many that see that, and there's many that has a ripple effect throughout that community that I think are being well served by your staying true to who you really are, and that voice that you've found, and that you're just saying, I'm going to stay true to this voice regardless of what could maybe get me more accolades, more known, within the music industry. And I just love that is very empowering. You're welcome.
Thank you, David. Well, yeah, I met Tommy. I had started in Canada, and then I moved to Nashville, and I met Tommy, my husband and partner in music. And he had a staff writing deal at the time.
Oh, cool.
And and he was doing very well down there, and I'd had some songs published with Anne Murray's company, and I had been doing writing with people like Randy Bachman from Guess Who, and
absolutely,
Bachman Turn Overdrive, and so Tommy and I were introduced by his publisher, and we started to write songs. And what we really loved about each other was that we had a message, and it was different than the norm.
Yeah.
And we had a few songs cut. We had a few songs placed in TV and film. But when we decided to pursue the artist aspect of my career and get back into it, because I'd given it up for a while, we sat down with one of Nashville's top songwriters, and a friend of Tommy's and mine, and Jeffrey Steele. And Jeffrey's amazing. I mean, and he sat down with us at a Starbucks, and he said, "Listen, you guys, I've listened to your music, and it's brilliant. It's amazing." But he said, "But you know what? You're probably going to need to get out there and find your audience base, because it's not going to hit the mainstream Music Row what they're looking for." And so we were kind of devastated at that, to hear that news.
Sure.
I said, "Well, gosh, I've just moved here. What does this mean?" And,
what does this mean? Yes.
Yeah. So we kind of found, it was very interesting. So I just started booking us gigs. I just said, okay, let's try this out. And we went to the Midwest, and Tommy's from Colorado originally. And so we started hitting Kansas, Colorado, parts of the Panhandle, Texas, and whatever. And, kind of Johnny Cash's little territory, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we found that people loved it. They loved the story songs. I grew up in a rural Ontario, Canada, so we implemented farming stories, like things like that, and strong faith messages. People loved it, and we just kept true to our music then and our message, and I think that's what we've captured in Stubborn in My Blood. I mean, it's my artist album. I believe this one is our masterpiece.
Oh, I love it. You just picked all the right words for the show. I love that. Well, that is awesome stuff, Tia. We're going to take a quick break, and because I really want to hear more about this and what you're sharing, and how others might be able to discover how they can, apply the types of insights that's kept you so strong and grounded, and finding finding the right people for your music and finding the right people to be, in your life ultimately.
Absolutely, which is so important.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, before we jump into the break, let's tell people where they can find out more about you.
My website is tiamcgraff.com, and it's TIAMCGRAFF as in Frank. Of course, I'm on social media. There's the Tia McGraff North American Fan Club on Facebook. Tia McGraff is my personal one, which I don't care. I like having my friends and fans on there. So, so you can find me through any of those locations.
That's fantastic. Well, all right. So we've been talking with Tia McGraff today on our episode, My Conscious and My Songs. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how you listening might reflect on these types of ideas and how to start living a life that's reflective of your conscious viewpoints. So stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
We're back. You're listening to Superpower Creatives. And today we're talking with singer, songwriter, and author Tia McGraff on our episode, My Conscious and My Songs. So Tia, I'd love to circle back to where we kind of left off a little bit before the break, and I want to preface it with this question: Why do you do what you do with your superpowers?
Because I have to. I don't think I could do anything else.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
You have to, right? It's our call.
Yes,
and, right. And there's the old saying, music doesn't choose, we don't choose it, it chooses us, right?
Yes.
I remember one year, I had been in the music industry for maybe 4 years. This is prior to moving to Nashville. And I was frustrated. I remember I was going down, I was kind of, where you're straddled, you have one foot on the path and one foot off.
Yes, I do.
And, so you end up limping, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you're, which way do you go? And I was at that point. And I was surrounding myself with people that were not positive, were not uplifting, were not champions.
Yes.
And I found myself very, discouraged. And I remember coming home from a gig one night, and I had been working with this musician that this was pre-Tommy, and it was just like, this person was just not very positive. And I was so frustrated. I came home and I said, I'm quitting. That's it. I'm going to quit for a year. And I remember lifting up to God, and I said, look, God, I'm quitting for a year. I'm just going to focus on taking a job, working for my parents, not even singing a note. I'm not even going to sing one note. And that was one of the most horrible years of my life. In some ways it was cool because I got to just kind of get out there and see what it would be like without having music in my life. But it was basically a year later, exactly to the date, that I got a call, and my aunt was retiring from, she was a secretary to the Board of Education, and she was retiring, and they asked me if I would sing at her retirement party. And I said, no, I don't even have any other musicians. And they said, oh, please, Tia, it means so much to her. So I said, okay. So I found a piano player. We went in and played it, and it was like, and I knew the gift that it brought her. And that's when I got back on track of, that's the reason to do it, is treat it as a gift that you're sharing with the world and sharing for God, for your faith. And that's the reason why you have to do it.
Well, that is, that's just so eloquently and honestly and transparently, shared and communicated. I want to ask you this, Tia, during that year, when you left your passions for music behind, what was one moment in that year that, if you could define that year, if there was like a single milestone moment, something, because when creativity, that's such a big part of who you are as an artist, kind of gets left behind for a little bit. It does pull away from you, and I'm just curious about, during that year, if there was one moment where it just defined that year, summed it up in like one moment that happened, if there was one.
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember my parents had a golf course at the time. I grew up with, my dad built the golf course, and
oh, wow, cool.
I grew up out there. And so I remember I was working for them at that year. And I remember standing in the kitchen. I was cooking, I think, that night. And it was kind of sunset. And I remember I just have this vision of me, I could even see what I was wearing and everything. And just standing there looking out the window at the first green and or the first tee, and looking out there, and it was a beautiful evening and everything was lovely, and, but just going, wow. I mean, my dad built this. This was his creative outlet, and it's so beautiful. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm wasting mine. And I think that was the moment that the wheels started turning again for me. And I realized, that a part of you is dead when you're not doing when you're not creating. And like you said earlier, I believe everyone has a creative bone in them to do something. It could be just going out planting your garden. It could be talking to someone. We just studied gifts of the Spirit at a Bible study. And everyone has a gift, whether it be talking. I mean, you could be just sharing a story or encouraging your next door neighbor, or going to the grocery store and just talking to someone and encouraging them. We don't know what people around us are going through. And so when you can take your gifts, you can take your talent and you share it, that's, to me, what we're supposed to be doing. And the rest of it will fall in line, and you'll figure it out somehow.
Yes, you will. You'll figure it out, and I mean, when you shared that story about seeing that first green and realizing that, like, that was your dad's, his creativity, that was his
right,
his masterpiece, and I have to admit, I my whole body chemistry changed. I got emotional, because like I pictured my own father and things he's done that make me know that was his too. And I know that people listening will have some feeling with that. And I thought that was really powerful, and very much a realization for you that it was like the music, and that is who you are, and the creativity needs to continue to flourish.
And we can't live someone else's dream, right? I think a lot of times, especially in our society, David, we'll look at what other people are doing, or we'll, be influenced by TV or whatever, social media. And a lot of times I think we lose what our dream is, because a lot of times society will try to make you feel like, or condition us to believe that our dream isn't necessary or isn't important, whereas someone else's dream is. And so a lot of times people will get caught up trying to live someone else's dream. And like you just hit it on the head. I mean, your dad had his dream. My dad had his dream, right?
Yeah.
And I think what I was doing at that particular point in my life was maybe trying to live through my dad's dream. And that's when I realized, this is his dream. This isn't mine. Mine is something else that I've been gifted with.
Well, that is, that sort of comparison bias is so prevalent, and it's so easy to fall into that sort of that inertia of looking at others and devaluing our own worth and our own power to be creators. Well, speaking of dream and a creator and a powerful artist, tell us a little bit about your children's books, because I think those look amazing, and I'd love to hear a little more about that, how that all came together.
Well, when Tommy and I were living in Nashville, we lived on the outskirts of Nashville in the country, and we were renting a log cabin at the time.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it was in the woods and in a canyon and in a holler.
Yeah.
And just down the road from us was an animal shelter, and we had lost our dog. He had run away, and in the search for finding him, I found and we rescued Jake. And Jake is part husky, part Australian Shepherd. He's a beautiful dog. He was about 6 months when we rescued him, and we brought him home, and he just had so many issues, but through going on the road with us, we started taking him on the road to all of our gigs and travels, and he just found himself. Like, Jake has just turned into this beautiful, beautiful dog. And so one day we were backstage with some artists, musicians at a festival, and we were all sharing stories about our road dogs and how much they mean to us, and they keep us grounded, and everything. And I was telling them about Jake, and as I'm telling the little stories about different things he had done, I thought, man, this would make a great kids book. So I came home and wrote my children's book and finished it last October. And it was always on my bucket list to go into. We have a chain up here called Chapters and Kohl's Indigo, and kind of like your Barnes and Nobles. And so I just went into our local Indigo, and I asked the manager how I would get my book in there. And he said, well, bring in a copy and I'll look it over. And so I did. And he invited me to come and do a book signing and bring Jake.
Yeah.
So Tommy and I took Jake in, and he was just such a hit. And it's just blossomed into this whole beautiful journey that's an extent. Plus, I included a CD with 3 songs that we'd written. So it's tying our music in with it as well. And it's just a different extension. It's when we're in Scotland in September, we're going to be doing the Nairn Book Festival. Doing a concert and a book reading at the library and everything. So yeah, it's lovely.
That is lovely. What's it like when you just let go and you let that creative flow of life take over, and it has you now as an author for books that are obviously growing in popularity and people are celebrating them. What's that feeling like? How would you describe the feeling of seeing how creativity has whisked you into its powerful arms and had said, you're willing to take this journey with me, and I know that you're surrendering to this process of what this is all about, and here we go. Let's do this. What's that like to experience that?
It's kind of like riding on a butterfly.
I love that. That is well put. That's perfect. I'll write that down.
Yeah, it just kind of came to me that, like, as you're asking the question,
love it.
Writing songs has been something I've been doing forever. And so then when I sat down to write my children's book, I thought, and I was critical on myself, and I'm like, this is terrible. And so I started letting Tommy read it. And then of course, Tommy loved it, but he's my husband. So I had to have other people, credible people read it.
Yeah.
I had friends who were school teachers, and I started letting all of them read it. And they kept coming back. This is really great. And this is a really great message. So there came a point when I had to just surrender and say, it's not brilliant. I mean, I'm not trying to be the Author of the Year award, but I do have something I want to say, and I believe that people will want to hear this. And it's true. And again, it's coming from that place of this is true. This is Jake, my dog. I'm not making this up. And the messages in it are real from the heart. So let it be what it's going to be. And as you get on that butterfly and it starts flying around, going from different bop, 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 it's just, oh, that's kind of cool. That's interesting. I never thought we'd be here, but here we are, Yeah.
What has been an experience with somebody in one of those stops, the here we are stops that they've shared something about the books or something about how it's affected their family life or their children or their a family that has a dog? Is there something that someone's come up to you and shared with you that that they have experienced or been inspired by because of something you wrote in one of your books?
There's 2 things that come to mind immediately. My aunt, she decided to buy a bunch of books and give them to some neighbors and friends of hers for Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
And her neighbor across the road they have adopted a little boy. And so in the book, I talk about the first chapter is Jake coming home and fitting into the family. and how hard it was for him to fit into the family. Like so my aunt called me up all excited, and she said that she had, the neighbor came across the road and said to her, "You're never going to believe this," but she said, my adopted boy went to bed last night. We were reading Jake the Road Dog to him and playing him the CD. And when he went to sleep, before he went to sleep, he said, "Make sure that in the morning we listen to that song again." And he said, "This Jake is me. Jake is me. I was adopted, but I found my family."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh," that this connected with this child, and who probably felt the same as Jake, like, where do I fit in? What's my voice here? And so that really hit home. And then recently we did we were doing a little library reading kind of mini concert, and afterwards had a meet and greet. And this elderly gentleman came up and he handed me some money, and he said, "I want to buy the book, he said, "I want to give you this money, but I can't buy the book." And I said, "Well, I'm not going to take your money without giving you a book." And he said, "Well," and then his daughter came up and she said, "You don't understand. My father has Alzheimer's, and he's going into a home tomorrow." And she said, "He never pays for anything. He never buys a CD or anything. So for him to offer you that money means that your book really touched him." Oh. So I signed the book. We had pictures with him, made a big deal about it. And I said, "Look, when you go into your home tomorrow, here's some pictures of Jake inside the book. You can remember meeting Jake here tonight." And so his daughter said, "You don't know what this means to us." And she followed it up with a beautiful email, just thanking me again. And I thought there again was, a lovely way to connect and touch with someone and make a difference. Both of them felt, I think some kind of, like we had shared a moment as her dad was being transitioned into this home.
Well, and that's such an important moment that they have just that warm layer of experience around to always hold it and to, always have that precious place in their experience. With your music and the way you write in your songs, how do you feel about the ability for music to express something that's a conviction, a passion, something outspoken about who you are as a person, or something you see in the world that's just maybe needing to have a voice lent to it? Is there some project that you're working on, or something that you've done in your writing with your music that has channeled that sort of part inside yourself, where you've said, "Hey, listen, I see this, and this is what I have to say about it"?
"Let 'Em See You're Strong" is one of the songs on the album, and it's probably the most powerful. We wrote it with our friend Devin O'Day in Nashville, and at the time we were sitting around talking about narcissistic people. And narcissistic relationships. Yeah. And so, and however that plays out in your life, I'm sure all of us have had a narcissistic relationship at some point or another, and how damaging that can be, and everything else. And so we were all sharing that. And then we wrote the song, "Let 'Em See You're Strong." And Devin had started the song actually and asked us to help her finish it. So the motto in there is, "Let 'Em see you're strong, let 'em see your burn, let 'em see your light." Oh. And we were so empowered by the song itself that we decided to record it and put it on the album. And I was going to call my album Strong. But then we got a call that another artist in Nashville has picked it up, and she's recording it and wants to make it her whole thing as well. So I said, "Well, then I'll change mine to Stubborn in My Blood." And I like that. Yeah, which ironically is a song on the album that is about my ancestors, what we're talking about, my grandmother. And Transylvania. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Strong also has, "Let 'Em See You're Strong" has also been picked up by a ladies group, a group of 3 ladies who have a business together in Dallas, Texas. And they're all about women's empowerment and everything. And they're using it as their theme song, which is really exciting.
Well, that is exciting to know that, to know that registers for for what it is they want to communicate to the collective three of them. It says a lot about the power of your writing.
Well, yeah, and again, David, it's like, we just, I don't know, maybe this is a bit out there, but I just think songs are in the universe, and we just have to be the channel. If they decide that we're the person they want to come through, then we have to just let them come out, right? And
absolutely,
be in the right place at the right time, kind of thing. So
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, we're all about that stuff here, Tia. That's our whole platform. We love that. We talk about that kind of stuff the whole show, and we will on the next one. How about that? Well, I tell you, this has just been very powerful and just really enjoyable for me. And I'm grateful for your presence and your being here today. And maybe before we close out the show, Tia, let's remind listeners once again where they can go to find out more about you.
Yeah, tiamcgraff.com, and you can find me on Facebook and everything. I'm not it. Tommy set me up with an Instagram, but I'm a terrible Instagram person. I have trouble.
I tried, but I'm like, oh boy.
It's like, and if I may too,
yes,
you and I touched on this briefly, and I don't know if we came back to it, but I just want to send out to everyone listening today that who you surround yourself with is so important. And I don't mean social climbing. That's not what you want to do. That's not what it's about, or career climbing. But it's surround yourself with beautiful, like-minded people who are going to inspire you, people who you feel you make a difference in their life. It's because life's too short to waste it on negative energy, and there are those people that will bring us down, and they may not be meaning to do that. So just, even if you just have, one person today that you're with, that you can talk to, or even just a program that you're listening to right now, really carry that in your heart and be conscious of that. Be conscious of surrounding yourself with really great, uplifting people.
I couldn't say it any better than that. It's very, very, very important. And thank you for mentioning that. That's a great way to add a nice exclamation point of love and sincerity to the show. So thank you for adding that. It's very good. Well, thank you, Tia, for joining me and being here. It's such a joy and an honor to co-create with you in this space today.
Thank you, David. I hope we can get down to Phoenix soon, and we'll play a show there for you guys.
Oh, well, just would love that. And definitely let's manifest that one for sure. That'd be a real treat. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Okay. Well, and I want to just once more acknowledge you for your powerful work and what you're doing to help people, young and old, as a leader, through your words and your positive example for others to see it and model and be inspired by in their own lives. Lovely, lovely stuff here, my dear.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, of course, I want to thank the listeners as well. And until next time, be bold, stay true, and unveil your creative superpowers.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the superpower quiz today.
I get up and I show